It's going to be... Do you think you could do this interview without seeing me?
Yeah, I know what you look like.
Not tonight.
I do know what you look like tonight because I've been watching the show.
Yeah, I changed just for the interview. Right, okay. Can I ask you to let the viewers know who you are and say a little about yourself? What it is you do and what you're up to currently.
Of course. Good evening to everyone. My name is Hannah Jackson and I am the Naked Psychic. Did you say a little bit about myself? Gosh, where to begin? I've written 6 books, 5 that have been published, and they're on Amazon under the name Hannah Jackson. And I used to be a barrister in the field of criminal law, but my interest is in human rights and social justice.
Superb. Absolutely fine. That's quite a handful, Hannah. I don't think you find the time, to be honest. So what are you currently working on?
What am I currently working on? Very good question. Well, actually, since lockdown, I've been in quite a reflective process. I'm really fascinated by the female form, and I've been doing a fair bit of semi-nude work, and I'd like to really develop that into an exhibition at some point, hopefully after this pandemic has eased up, and do an exhibition in London. So I'm trying out ideas around the nude and semi-nude idea, and I'm also working on various sketches that you might have seen bits of on YouTube to do live shows on the London Fringe.
Okay, superb. I'm going to put your details in afterwards, but where can people find you on YouTube?
If they put in The Naked Psychic, they will find my YouTube channel. And I believe that my Naked Psychic Facebook page is back up. We sort of, we put it to sleep for a little while, but now it's live again, so they can also join that page. And of course, my personal page is Hannah Jackson.
And that's on Facebook, or do you mean on...
That's Facebook, yeah. I'm not on Instagram at the moment. I closed that down because it's a lot. You know what it's like when you're producing a lot of content for social media. It's a lot of work, and it was just too much. So we decided to let that one go and focus on the uploading YouTube videos, and just doing bits on Facebook for now.
Okay, superb. Now, before I move on, I love what you're wearing tonight. And can you tell us a little bit about what you're wearing and the necklace, the pendant?
Yeah, this was chosen by one of my sons, and I always wear the things that they like me to wear. So it's just a bit of tat, really, but nice tat. And I
agree. Yeah, definitely.
And this is a Calvin Klein cardigan. And of course, being Calvin Klein, I could only afford the cardigan, but I kind of like just the cardigan. Would you agree?
Absolutely, I like it. Yep. And also, that leads me to say, because you're wearing it very well, you were a model at some point, doing like catwalk stuff and so on. And you're 5'2", I believe.
5'4".
5'4". Sorry, what's the difference?
Yeah, no, that's okay. I did a stint of modelling hair and makeup for L'Oreal and various other big hair brands, and I was the smallest model really that probably they'd ever taken on. But I look taller than I actually am because my limbs are pretty long. So yes, gosh, that was a long time ago now.
Yeah, I know about you.
I'm very proud of my body, Cedric, because I've had 4 children. I've had 2 cesareans. I've had near-death experiences. So, it's been through a lot. And for it to look this good at my age is something to be proud of. And that's why I do the nude work, because, frankly, I'm proud of my body. and I want it to be seen, and I want to enjoy it, and I want other people to enjoy it. But I don't just use it as a sexual thing. For me, it's an empowerment tool for other women that will understood the journey of a woman's body, and that it is a living history of everything, you know, all the battle scars that they've had, and it's something, it's a thing of beauty, and that should be seen throughout the ages, not just when they're, you know, in their sort of prime, in their 20s or whatever, when they, you know, maybe haven't had children and all of that, you know.
Absolutely fantastic. This is one of the things that I agree with as well. Sometimes I'm going to tell you one of my views on this afterwards also, which some people find hard to take on board. But I think the importance of that isn't stressed enough. You know, we adore women, you know, until they're 21, and then suddenly, you know, they're old. You know, a woman, an actor, newsreader. I think we're starting to make ground now, but before, anything over 21 just wasn't acceptable. So I think the more we see the human body as well, and men, the more we become accustomed to it, and then we can remove that taboo. One of the issues I see with you showing your body, it's not an issue as such. What I mean is, you're slim, you know? You've got a lovely figure still. And as much as it still shows a woman's journey, it's still displaying the, you know, the body that we're accustomed to as the, you know, the slim woman, and we don't see enough big people, and I wish we could see more of that, because sometimes I see women, I've got so used to it now, you know, I had to keep on teaching myself to become used to it, where I see people, men or women, and I think that person's fat. And I don't see fat people anymore as their form, you know. I just think, so that's just another human form, you know. Some people think, but that person's fat because they eat a lot. And I'm thinking, no, that's just their shape. People come in all shapes and sizes. But the media and television and films, they won't show us anything else. I actually thought you were 6 foot tall.
I know you did. But I want to address the point, actually, that you've made, because I have been fat. And in fact, in my 30s, I was about a size 16. Ooh. I'm a size 10 now, and I think that there is a time in one's life when one doesn't really give a shit about how one looks. Usually, when you are producing children, it really just becomes secondary, because you're so busy looking after these other human beings that you just don't have that time. However, I'm a huge believer in God consciousness, and I believe that if you are a public figure, as I am, that you have a duty to present yourself in a disciplined way, and that for me includes diet. And I don't mean dieting, I mean looking after health and well-being, because this is this is a God-given body. It's a gift. Every day that we have on the earth is a gift, and we ought to look after our body and treat it as a temple, which is, you know, in truth, what it is.
Excellent. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about the body and the nakedness. I think that might cover the part of what I'll ask you again, you as the naked psychic. What about the psychic part?
Yeah.
What's that about?
I've been a medium since the age of 7. I was able to see things that I couldn't possibly understand or even know about, and I was spouting them off to my family, and they were quite frightened because they're very religious people, and so I repressed it for most of my life. And, as I said, I became a barrister. I was also trained as an actress and did modelling and stuff like that. So I've done a lot of things during my life. But what happened is in my 40s, that psychic ability sort of erupted. And I found that I could do mediumship, which was, to be honest, mind-blowing for me, because being a barrister, the first thing I did was question it. I wanted evidence. I wanted proof. I did hundreds and hundreds of cases, and in fact 3 of the books that are on Amazon, Psychic Room Reader 1, 2 and 3, are all about their actual live transcripts from Facebook dialogues in real time of me mediumship. And, you know, to be able to give people's the names of relatives, and I don't even know who it is I'm talking to, is beyond comprehension. And to be a medium, it takes great courage, because, of course, you've got all the potential sort of mental labels around that, you know. Oh, she hears voices, she must be mad, and, you know, and all that.
Yeah, especially years ago, much worse than now, I'd imagine.
Yeah, discriminatory stuff. But it's I mean, for me, it's dealing with it myself. I mean, because it brought me to God, because I was kind of an atheist, I think, before, but then knowing that I could speak to people when I knew that they were dead, you know, made me realize that actually they're not dead, or something else is going on. So it's been massively transformational for me. And what I want to do actually is just share this, the message that life is eternal, that, you know, we are reincarnated beings, and this is pretty new for me. I would say 7 years that I've been a practicing medium and psychic, and had this spiritual awakening, this spiritual growth, and I want to provide that for other people.
Okay, excellent. Now, I'm not a believer in, you know, the psychic stuff, truly. I went through it as a child. I grew up with it, you know, and I've read everything as a kid. I've totally believed it anyway. And I kind of, not that I don't believe it. What I mean is, it exists for those who believe it, in a sense.
Yeah,
and I
it's
think
an art form at the end of the day, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and for those people, I wish they would understand that you have the power to believe this, and obviously to act and work on it. But we also have the power not to, because in my life I haven't seen anything that really has satisfied me. I need to see the proof. And I've read a lot of Greek mythology, and did you know that Psyche, you know, in the Greek of the soul, is that was a female figure. She's a Greek goddess of the soul. And she was born a mortal woman, meant to be as beautiful as Aphrodite. But in more modern terms, the psyche is of the psyche, you know, meaning something that has a non-physical effect on other things. Would that be a good description?
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very accurate. It's about intuition. I believe that everyone has psychic ability, intuition, you know, the sixth sense. Some people just have it at a higher level than others. But mediumship is something a little bit different. Mediumship is connecting with the spirit world, and that's just extraordinary, and that really is quite different from psychic ability. Most people are psychic. It's just the degree. You know, it's about being intuitive. It's that, you know, when you say, I have a gut feeling about something, that's intuition. That's psychic ability. That's sensory perception. But mediumship is connecting with the spiritual realm. And I can talk to people who have passed away. I can get information from people who have passed away and can convey that to the client. That's an extraordinary ability, and one that I am most humbly grateful for.
So there is a difference in a sense, because some people say the two are the same, a psychic and a medium, but a medium is a different thing with a psychic ability. Would that be a definition?
Yeah, I would say most mediums probably are also good psychics, but you can get someone who is psychic without being a medium, and you can get someone who is a medium without being psychic. I am a psychic medium, meaning that I have high levels of intuition and perception, and that I'm also able to connect with the spirit world. That's the mediumship part. But they are distinct. They are very different. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic that you held on to both of them also. So when did you become aware of your, can I call it a power?
Yeah, you can. I became, it was a sort of feeling. When I was getting on the bus, I kept hearing people, because of course you can imagine you're on a bus full of people. So the spirits, the relatives of those people would be coming on the bus and trying to get me to talk to other people, because they knew that I was what's called a channel. And I had severe anxiety, because I thought, oh my God, I can't deal with this. And I'd just get off the bus and I'd be like, oh my God, what's going on? And it took me a while just to kind of slowly gain the courage and the confidence to allow the voices in. And then I can sort of block the voices. I can stop them speaking, and then when I have a client in front of me, then I open that door, and that channel is then the spirit world can enter it and convey the messages to that person. But it takes practice. I've had no training. I'm a natural. You know what I mean? I've never been to a spiritual church. I've never had any psychic or mediumship training. So it's a natural thing for me, and it's one I have great respect for. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic! And what age did that happen?
It was really in about 42. About the age of 42. Well, as I said, I was a medium when I was 7, but I completely repressed it because there was so much fear around that ability that I had, that I just had to, I didn't understand it, and I was probably. I mean, you have to have a great deal of wisdom and courage to be a medium. It's not something that you can take lightly.
I was just going to come to that, actually, because you said 42, and I was going to say, well, you've had a lot more experience, developed a lot more confidence, which is a process, an ongoing process. People say I'm very confident all the time, and I'm like, no, you come and spend a week with me and you'll see that my confidence it's not fake, because I've put myself in a situation so many times, and I've expressed this in other shows, how I used to put myself in really awkward situations, and I'd be sweating buckets, but I'd learn to deal with it, and it gets easier and easier. But it's an ability. It's a superpower. I've talked about superpowers on other shows. It's a superpower. It's something I can quickly take my, like Superman, one of those characters we've created as superheroes. I can take my uniform off and I've got the S on my chest. So I see, Cedric, or now OBG, and I'll act in that capacity very well. But when I don't need to, I'm a regular guy, and I'm learning more and more. No,
I totally get that. You can't. I mean, when you're operating at the level that you operate at, I operate at, you can't do that 24/7. It's impossible, because it's a high energy, it's a high vibration, and you need that time out. And that's why you'll often see me without makeup. I mean, it's quite unusual actually for me to wear makeup, and that where I'm just really, really quite relaxed. And a lot of my work I do in a very kind of relaxed, spontaneous way, because it's that knowing, it's that, you know what I mean? It's like you do your research, and when you speak that you've done your research. It's that responsibility, it's that discipline that you have. And then there are times when you just need to literally have time out and just be a regular guy, a regular woman going shopping and, doing your thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Important, and that's really important. The world needs people like us, because at the end of the day, you can go through life not really knowing that much and survive, but that is not what we're here to do. We are here to expand, and the process of reincarnation is about giving us new opportunities to become different people and have new experiences. But each time we have that opportunity, we ought to use it to its fullest. I don't know what I'm doing here. All as I know is that I am here, and I'm a creative being, and so I look for opportunities to express my creativity. And I think really that's the same for you.
Absolutely, I'm the same. It's like I think everything's absurd. Albert Camus, philosopher, I've read a lot of his stuff, and it's not that I look at these people and go, oh wow, he's amazing, listen to this guy. I'm like, wow, I think that way too. And I think everything's absurd. I don't think anything really matters, but I'm not a nihilist as such. I just think that I'm doing what I do. I don't know why I do what I do. So I sometimes sit down, and I try to work out, and I go, look, it doesn't matter. I'm just doing what I do. And some people just take it wrong. If I'm going to talk about the negative people for the moment, I'd like to hear your opinion on it as well. Yeah. They're like, oh, who do you think you are? Because I said something, or I spoke about particular subjects, or I was negative, or people have expectations because I talk about positive things in the main. I'm just a very positive person, very high energy, positive person. But when I say something negative, people are, oh, I didn't expect that of you, and then they want to hold you to task that you have to be the positivity they see. And I can understand that, but getting back to the regular guy thing, I'm just a regular guy, and me putting myself out there, I'm looking for the answers sometimes, and maybe I need the feedback. So I'll, go out and perform in front of everyone and then wait for the feedback. And you get used to it as time goes on. You kind of don't develop a thick skin. I hear people say they've got a thick skin, but no. Don't get a thick skin because
you need to be vulnerable. You need to be vulnerable. And I just want to say on that point, you're never going to be able to please everyone. So don't even try, you just got to do your own. You've got to be in your own process. In a way, it is actually quite selfish, because we are in our own process and we're doing what we're doing because we need to do it, and fuck everybody else.
But without the fuck everybody else, Hannah, this is one approach I don't take. I know you didn't mean it in an aggressive sense. It's but the fuck words makes it sound more aggressive.
What I mean is that, if people enjoy your work and my work, then that's fantastic. But if they don't, it's not going to stop us doing
Absolutely. What happened there?
Excuse me, that's
okay.
One of my ex-husbands calling me at the most inappropriate time. He always does.
Okay, so it's about being yourself. That's very important. But one of the hardest things, I think, to convey to people, I mean, the generations that came after us, to younger people, and to those who don't have confidence, is to be yourself. Because we have trodden that path, we've taken that journey. And to simply say it to somebody else, it's aids them, but they have to take the journey themselves, I believe, as well.
They have to take the journey themselves. I mean, I'm still finding out who I am. So if you said to me, be yourself, I'd say, well, okay, well, I'll let you know when I know who that is.
Absolutely.
And that's the truth, but that is part of it. And actually, this kind of trying to fit into a box and define who we are at such a young age is ridiculous, because it's not really, in truth, possible. And something that is that I'm doing at the minute, I always have about 4 or 5 books on the go at any one time, is attachment. And what's happened in the last, certainly since I was a child, is that the attachment village, the family, has completely disappeared. And so what's happening now with the youth is that they are becoming peer orientated. In other words, they are being parented by other kids, and that's why we have these gang cultures, because children cannot parent other children. They don't have the capacity, nor are they conscious of it, but it's happening anyway. And one of the big things that I hope to tackle actually in the future is creating attachment villages. And actually the whole premise of one of my books, Room Reader, is about recreating non-blood related relatives. Do you see what I mean? And creating attachment villages around our children, so that they grow up with adults as their peers rather than other kids, because at the minute in society, this is where it's all going horribly wrong. In fact, I was just thinking about the fact that with this COVID 19 and the lockdown today, the fact that kids are being given the responsibility to still go to school and university, and yet their parents are working from home. There's something to me that's very odd about that, I also think it's interesting that the lockdown happened to be the day before Guy Fawkes. If only he had been successful in blowing up the fucking government, we'd all be in a much better place right now.
They'd probably have another government in place anyway, and they will get corrupt after a while. We can do about government in the form that they are.
Yeah, power corrupts. It corrupts absolutely. And the thing is that people have to really wise up and start taking more responsibility and understanding that Boris Johnson and his cronies are just like a paid-for gang.
Okay, let me stop you there a moment. I'm going to come back to this in a moment. Sorry to cut you off. It's just that we're going to talk about the corona and the politics and stuff. I just want to take you back earlier, because you mentioned something, and I think I've got some people in the room who would be interested. You mentioned God consciousness and reincarnation. I know they're quite separate, but can you sort of talk around those for a little bit, please?
Yeah, I can. Well, actually, they're not really. They're both one and the same.
Okay, let me just pause you there again. Sorry, Hannah, I've got an echo on my voice of you as saying. Let me try something. Hello, 1 2 1 2. Hello. Okay, so I'm still talking, guys. can you, I'm going to have to repost the show again afterwards without the echo on it, but I've just made a change. Could you let me know if my voice is still echoing in the room? And I'll get back to Hannah in a moment. Sorry, Hannah. Hello. Am I still echoing in the room? Have I still got a double feedback on my voice? Have I still got double feedback? Okay, that's better. Right, okay, so Hannah, just rephrase that question and repeat that question again. I do want to take you back to two terms you used earlier, which was God consciousness and reincarnation. Could you talk a little around those areas, please?
Yes, yeah. So basically, we are God. All people are one being, and the power is in us. So we are God consciousness, and that's why the government's trying to dissect and reduce our opportunities to be together, because when we are connected, when we are attached, we are very, very powerful and we can make huge changes. So that's God consciousness. Reincarnation is the process where we basically allow our body to drop away from us, and what is left is the consciousness of that person. So the personality doesn't change. Do you know what I mean? And so what happens is when they come through in spirit, you can still kind of, a sort of transient version of that physical being is presented to you, and so you can describe what they look like in the physical world, but they're no longer physical beings. And so process of reincarnation is when they choose to leave the spiritual world and come back to the physical realm, of which this is one, and there are many dimensions of the physical realms. And they choose. We have chosen to be here right now. There are no coincidences, and the experiences that we're having are designed by us in a way to overcome and to transform. And if we don't do it, then we've wasted a life, and we'll probably have to and do the same again. Do you know what I mean? So it's really important that people take responsibility and people, take back their power, their God-given power, because they are, in fact, God consciousness.
Superb. Thank you very much. Because I know there's a few people in the room. I know this is their gig, and that's a fantastic explanation. So, you started leading towards sort of government, political stuff, and the Rona. You happy to talk about this?
Yeah.
I covered some of this earlier on because I'm talking about the Great Reset in the main. It's new to a lot of people. Where Klaus Schwab, the head of the World Economic Forum and so on, and his cohorts, trying to make this massive change. Prince Charles spoke, and lots of other kind of industry leaders and key players. Now, I'm very suspicious of what they're doing, obviously, because they're going for this world, domination, control, and they're very Eurocentric. And to me, it reeks of fascism. But, you don't necessarily have to talk about the same subject I did. What are your views at the moment about what's currently going on?
Yeah.
As wide as you like regarding Rona.
Well, do you know what? I don't have as much knowledge as you, but I'm going to talk to you in very simple terms, and I hope that people can relate to this. Since this whole thing started, I've asked practically every person that I've met, do they know anyone that's had COVID-19, and have they died or have they been very ill? Okay. So far, the first and only person that I know that has had it was a guy in Exmouth back in March. Okay. I have spoken and I speak to a lot of people on a daily basis, and I ask them all. Okay. So far, since March, I know of one person, personally, somebody that I know, do you know what I mean, actually apparently tested positive for COVID-19, and they had a heavy flu, and they're fine. Okay, so there's truth in everything. I believe there is a virus. However, I do believe that this is a control exercise. I believe it's the government's last-ditch attempt, and this is collective governments around the world, at controlling the population, because what's happening is we are waking up and we're starting to take back our power. My book Room Reader talks about the erosion of parental responsibility over the last 30 years and how we can start to take that back. How can we have to go to a teacher to ask for me to get permission to take my kid out of school for a medical reason. I mean, it's just nuts, you know. So it's all of these things. Our rights have been eroded over many, many years. It's been quietly done, you know. Now it's blatant, and I'm hoping that the blatantnesses of it will actually get people powerful and strong. But what's really important, they must act as a group. And I know you go on about this all the time because it's so important. Because when you're on your own, you will be, you know, there'll be fear there because, of course, there's the police, there's all the government, you know, fingers. You know, these are all the government agencies, and so it brings in a lot of fear. So it's absolutely crucial that people come together and form attachments, and that they communicate physically at ground level, and that they stand together, especially women with children, because we are a very, very vulnerable group, and stand up against this
tyranny.
You know, yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. It's good to have a different perspective. We're saying exactly the same thing, Hannah. So it's not about me having more research. I'm just saying the same as you are. I'm a bit of a pedant anyway, and it's very hard for me to accept typically the first story. I have to listen to the third and fourth story. Occasionally I hear one off a good source, you know, I consider a friend, and I'll take it to be the truth. Like, if you tell me anything, I'll lightly repeat it, thinking, you know, Hannah's very intuitive, and, you know, she's a intelligent and, you know, like experienced, you know, a human being. So I talk about the same subjects. It's about eroding our rights and about taking control. And there seems to be this big push, almost as if every time we get together and we start thinking collectively, then they do a new push, and if it's not a push, they try the old methods. Like, they'll find Maddie and all the newspapers globally that report the same story, because they get the news from only 3 sources worldwide anyway. And this is one of the things about the internet, if I can go on a tangent. People say, oh, the internet, you know, the information revolution and so on, and it's like, no, pick a major story today and then go and find just the first 30 sources that you find on the internet, and they all start exactly the same. And then all the news channels, they tell a story and they use all exactly the same keywords. And it's brainwashing, and it's keeping us on a low level frequency vibration, which is something I'm very keen on, vibration and so on.
Absolutely. We can transcend 5G. We can transcend vaccinations. I mean, if you think about it, you know, I had all my kids vaccinated. I was vaccinated, but actually looking back on it, I'm like, fuck, why did I have all those vaccinations? For what? Why did my kids have all those vaccinations? Because I've looked into it, you know what I mean, since. And this is the thing, they catch you when you're young and you don't have, you know, you just kind of go along with stuff. And then when you get a bit older and you start to ask a few more questions and you start to look into it, and you realize that actually we don't even know truthfully if vaccinations even work. Hello, why are we loading ourselves up with this shite? You know, we don't know. And God made us whole, perfect and complete, and provided us with all the resources that we needed. And, you know, to me, the quality of life is the most important thing. Isn't it better to have a high quality of life and a short life than a long life that's just enslavement?
Absolutely. And they're trying to sell that as an idea now, this transhumanism, where they're saying that we can combine us with machines and so on, and the benefits for us. And the issue overall, regardless of whatever the independent topics are, it's about people wanting to seize control. It's about very few men wanting to play God, and that's all it is. They're all those computer nerd types, and this is why it's a very technically driven world. The technocrats that I talked about, they're all the little, I say Bill Gates, the little weedy kids who, and I'm not trying to put down the kids who have a tough time at all, but what I'm saying, the little weedy kid who got beaten up at school, so he sat at home, I'm going to take over the world one day, you know, and he builds a computer and he sells it, and now he's going to start playing God. Same as that other Mark Zuckerberg and so on, talking, you know, can you imagine? I'm sitting here saying, you know, I'd love to see change in the world, the people around me in my community, and that's it. And then if my community thrives, the next thrives, and we help each other. But these guys, they talk about, well, when I do this, I'm going to implement this for the world. They're not talking about community. It's all about domination. It's all about small penises, I think.
Absolutely. And I think you're on the right track, Cedric. I think that the way forward is actually community. It's so critical for communities to come together and start, the more we can break up government power and have it at local level, and the more involved people can be at local level, I think that the better, the better the world will be.
Absolutely. I hear you. So, Hannah, listen, we've been on for a while. I have anyway. I think you definitely need more time and a longer interview. However, I've been on for an hour, 10 minutes now. So can I ask you to talk about your books?
Sure. I've spoken about them briefly already. So my first book is called Room Reader. And Room Reader is about transforming your emotional state by looking at the physical space you work in, you live in, so therefore your home. And it's super powerful. Some people say it's like Feng Shui, or the West's answer to Feng Shui, it's been called. But it's not, because it's not ritualistic. It doesn't sort of tell you to put a picture of the person that you want to fall in love with in the corner of your room and any of that nonsense. It's more
that's not nonsense.
Yeah, it's more intuitive. It's designed to raise your intuition of your personal space. And it's about what's working for you or not working for you. And so the stories in it are theatrical, they're fascinating, they're funny, and they're designed to give you sort of dramatized examples so that you can think, oh, well, yeah, I can relate to this or that person, and actually how I can relate to them is in this way or that way, and start to apply it to your personal space. And it's about small changes, so it's not an interior design book either. It's part household management, so good old-fashioned cleaning and keeping your space clean. And if you've got 1,000 porcelain dolls that you want to keep, then that's fine, but look after them, sort of idea. But it's powerful because actually our physical space can act as a manifestation tool for us. And with simple changes, you can draw certain things to your life. I'll give you a few examples. So there was a lady, I had a group of women who came to see me, and one of them wanted a man, and she showed me a picture of her cottage, and it was literally full to the rafters of stuff. Now, I'm not big on declutter, but I did say to her, if you need a guy to come into that space, you need to make some room, because there's no physical space for a guy to enter. And so she literally just cleared some of her stuff, and lo and behold, there was space there for the guy to come in, and the guy came in. There was another woman who was very colourfully dressed, very colourful personality, but her home was like very white. You know what I mean? There was no colour in it. Her character wasn't showing up in her space. And that was putting men off when she brought them home. She couldn't understand why. And so what we discussed was the fact that how she wasn't reflected in her space. And so there needed to be a bit of continuity there, So there was I'll tell you a story about a guy. Actually, this is a garden, because you can apply room reading to any space, inside or out. And
we're going to have to go and keep stuff brief for the moment, Hannah, purely because my battery's showing that it could run out at any moment now and kill the show. But we'll take the chance. So carry on. So
he had some evil statues in his garden. Okay, and and his garden was beautiful apart from these two evil statues. And I suggested that he should, remove them if he wanted to get into a positive relationship, and so he did that, and that helped him. So that's Room Reader. I've written a poetry book and songs by Anton Hicks. I know you had Anton on recently. There's an album called Roomies, and most of the books in the album can be found on Amazon. So, if you put in Hannah Jackson, Room Reader.
Put some links in, if you don't mind putting some links into the show afterwards, and, people who are listening now, they can come back to see those. So I'm really sorry to rush you, Hannah. Once again, this happens sometimes. I get the most interesting people on, and suddenly I'm like, yeah, thanks, bye. So with your Room Reader book, is there a focus on women, or is it for everybody?
No, it's for everybody. It's actually a book that's suitable for teens and up.
Okay, superb. And also, one of the key things you said there, and I think it's very important, is simple changes. And this is, you know, what did you say? Did you say small or simple? Small?
Yeah, small. Like you might want to add a bit of colour, so just buy a cushion with a dual colour. Do you know what I mean? It's simple things. It's not like, you know, it's not like demolishing your house and rebuilding it. Or,
absolutely, and they can be quite powerful. Or you can make those small changes.
You know, it's simple.
Absolutely, and I think that's the same with life, about small steps, but every now and then you have to take a big leap, but not always keep on taking a massive leap and trying to reach from, you know, like if you're reaching from A to Z, don't jump from A to H. You know, take a look and suck in some of that B, C, D, E, F, G as well. And by the time you get to H, you know, you're well rounded. And some people can jump from A to H, and you know, they kind of have some, you know, glancing views at the B, C, D, E, F, G, H, E, F, Gs. But there's nothing nicer than getting to where you are, having done it slowly, and enjoying the orgasm. Basically, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely. And sex is free. And while you're in lockdown, I hope that you're all enjoying lots of passionate sex.
You come on again, Hannah. We're going to do another show. We're going to talk about sex. I want to talk about sex sometimes, but a lot of people are shy or hold back. So it'd be nice for you to come on, just one-on-one, and do a sex show. And also, I hope to do a Zoom where everyone can come in and we can talk about sex as well.
Ooh.
So thank you for coming on tonight. Is there anything you want to let yourself out on? Anything you need to say?
Just really to say I love your show. I think you're doing a great job, and you know, just keep doing it. I think you're going to have millions of people joining in the conversation anytime soon, and I'm excited.
Thank you very much. And that's because people like you are coming on the show, you see, and it does make a hell of a lot of difference. Like, he gets all the good people on. Let's keep on watching him. So on that note, thank you very much for coming in. Can I ask you to hang up, Hannah?
No problem. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, that was Hannah Jackson, everybody. She's an amazing woman. We've kind of been talking to each other, you know, just liking each other's stuff on Facebook in the main. And I really like her style. And she asked if she can come on the show. I was probably going to ask her anyway at some point. She beat me to it. And that worked out really, really well. And on that note, apologies about the sound. I think I may be able to recover it, which means I've got a copy here, but I'm not sure if it's gonna. It may not have the echo on. If it hasn't, then I'm going to upload the show again, but it means it's going to be a post without all of the comments in. So I won't get much into a chat tonight with everybody. I've got a hell of a lot to do. But and I didn't really give anyone a chance to talk to Hannah, but I will have her on again. And before I do go, I just want to say the OBG show relies on your support. I put a hell of a lot of work in, a lot of research, a lot of fact checking, plus all the other bits, videos, music, sound. It's just a full-time and plus job. I'm running short at the moment. I could do with a few small donations. Once again, don't feel bad. Don't think, oh, well, I haven't got 20 quid or 10 quid. You know, if you can do £1, you know, it makes all the difference as well for tonight's show. Thanks for Paul Anthony Berry in the room for taking on the role of executive producer, where people pay, you know, £100 or more to support the show. If anyone else can donate for tonight's show and for what's planned for the future shows, I've got some good interviews lined up. Please take down these numbers and be my guest. So, on that note, thanks for coming in tonight. You guys have been amazing, and I've been the OBG. I don't think people really know the true hypnotic power of television. You know, how it pulls us in and just keeps telling us to consume, buy, and tells us to hate each other and separates us and causes the greatest divides, all under the name of entertainment. And every time I turn on my TV, it's just like no surprise. It's all of those programs and they're pushing out lies, and in between there's the adverts and they do it again, and they're trying to convince us that we're friends and have us trained like good little soldiers. 1, 2, 3, 4.
They say we're going to spend $1 trillion this Christmas, believe it or not.
Watch it again in slow motion. See how mild and good tasting a cigarette can be.
Show it all.
Or doctors. Watch it again in slow motion. Watch it again in slow motion. Watch it again in slow motion.